Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. There's even a brand new Brigadier General tier where you can get a shout out on a Commander's Quarters episode that's dedicated to you. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. So today's episode comes to you courtesy of Paul, who's been supporting this channel as a General tier patron. I truly couldn't do this without the support from amazing patrons like Paul, so again, Paul, thank you so much. And for the personalized deck tech, Paul chose a deck built around Cromat with a Voltron strategy. That's right, unexpected Voltron Cromat time. Cromat is a 5/5 illusion, yes, that has been errated, that costs white, blue, black, red, green. By paying white, black, you destroy target creature blocking or blocked by Cromat. By paying blue, red, Cromat gains flying until end of turn. By paying black, green, you regenerate Cromat. By paying red, white, Cromat gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And by paying green, blue, you put Cromat on top of its owner's library. So Cromat is a very unique commander to say the least, and players, well, when you're playing against them, they probably have no idea what direction you're going to be taking this deck, because Cromat is kind of a meme commander in a way. It's a 5-color commander, again, that is just taken in a lot of different directions, so your opponents never know what's going on. And again, the strategy that was chosen for this deck was Voltron, so yeah, we're going to have some fun taking our opponents out with Cromat. And yeah, a lot of Cromat's activated abilities can really help us out with that. We can help it out in combat by destroying a creature that's either blocking it or blocked by it. We can give it flying to help it get through. We can regenerate it to save it. And yeah, we can pump it as well. But of course, Cromat is going to need plenty of help, and we've got plenty of help to give since, again, we're in 5 colors and have access to, well, every single card in Commander. Or at least I should say, since this is a budget channel, we've got access to a lot of cards in Commander because, again, this deck, like many of my other decks, every single card in the deck outside of the Commander is less than $1, so this is a very budget-friendly deck. So now with all that said, let's talk about some ways to suit Cromat up and take our opponents out. First up, let's help our commander out by giving it some keywords from things like Ring of Valkis, Ring of Thune, and Haunted Cloak. Ring of Valkis is going to give Cromat haste, and since it's a red creature at the beginning of her upkeep, it gets a +1 counter on it. And then Ring of Thune is similar, but it's going to give vigilance instead of haste, and it's going to give it that counter because it's a white creature and not a red creature. Well, okay, it's both. It gets both. And then Haunted Cloak is going to give equipped creature vigilance, trample, and haste. 3 keywords that are fantastic with a Voltron commander. So we can swing right away with Cromat, help get damage through, and we can keep it back for blocking as well. Next up, though, we can also pad our life total with Cromat by giving it lifelink from things like Behemoth Sledge and Loxodon Warhammer. Behemoth Sledge going to give it +2/+2 trample and lifelink, and Loxodon Warhammer gives +3/+0 trample and lifelink. So these are some fantastic ways to pump our commander, get extra damage through, and to pump our life total as well. Or pad our life total. Pump, pad, whatever. Next up, though, there's Hero's Blade, which doesn't give any keywords, but it does give +3/+2, and we can actually attach it for free whenever Cromat comes into play. And again, keep in mind that Cromat starts off as just a 5/5, so getting it over that 7-power mark turns Cromat into a 3-shot kill. And if we can get to 11, well, then that's a 2-shot kill. So we also have some other pump effects coming from things like Sword of Vengeance, Civic Saber, and Hedron Matrix. Sword of Vengeance gives a lot of things, so here we go. +2/+0, First Strike, Vigilance, Trample, and Haste. So yeah, all those things can really help Cromat out. Next up, there's Civic Saber, which is a very simple equipment that just costs 1 and only costs 1 to equip, but it's going to give Cromat +5/+0, since Cromat has 1 of each color. And speaking of +5, how about Hedron Matrix, which gives equipped creature +X/+X for X is its converted mana cost, so again, that's going to be +5/+5. Again, either of these can essentially turn Cromat into a 2-shot kill, either with one other equipment on it that pumps it, or, just by paying Boros and, pumping it. And I guess I should say by saying Boros. Yes, there is a Boros mana symbol. I mean red and white, okay? Regardless, speaking of pumping, we have some major pump effects with things like Belt of Giant Strength, Blackblade Reforged, and Bone Horde. Belt of Giant Strength says equipped creature has base power and toughness 10/10, and it's got equipped 10, but that ability is going to cost X less to activate, where X is the power of the creature it targets. So the bigger Cromat is, the easier this is to equip. And then Blackblade Reforged is going to give Cromat +1/+1 for each land we control, and yeah, we've got access to green, so we've got tons of land ramp cards, and we can get a lot of lands in play. And then yet another variable pump effect comes from Bone Horde, which is a living weapon, so it makes a germ and it attaches to it when it comes into play, and it says equipped creature gets +X/+X for X the number of creature cards in all graveyards. So the longer the game goes, the more creatures are in graveyards, and the more this pumps our commander. And finally, we can also double up on Cromat's hits with things like Fire Shrieker and Inquisitor's Flail. Fire Shrieker says equipped creature has double strike, so yeah, giving Cromat this can help it hit twice as hard. And again, if we can get one of these on Cromat and we can get Cromat's power up to 11, well, that is a one-shot kill. Because the Inquisitor's Flail says if a equipped creature would deal combat damage, it deals double that damage instead, and if another creature would deal combat damage to a equipped creature, it deals double that damage to a equipped creature instead. And actually, with each of these attached to Cromat, by just pumping it once with its pump effect, that is a one-shot kill. Because at that point, it'd be a 6/6, and then with double strike, that would be 12 damage, and then by doubling that up, that would be 24 damage. So yeah, incredibly impactful on their own, and quite the deadly combination. Regardless, we're not quite done with helping out Cromat just yet. So now let's talk about the golden pig of this deck, which is the number 1 card out of our 99. And the golden pig for this deck is Finest Hour. Finest Hour is an enchantment for 2 green, white, blue, and it has Exalted, so whenever a creature we control attacks alone, that creature gets ++1 until end of turn. And whenever a creature we control attacks alone, if it's the first combat phase of the turn, untap that creature. After this phase, there's an extra combat phase. Basically, hey, as long as you're just attacking with Cromat, it's gonna get bigger on each combat. Oh, and you get an extra combat. So yeah, once this is in play, we can get a ton of value out of this, and we can turn Cromat into, well, at the very least, a 2-shot kill, and easily turn it into a 1-shot kill with just a few pump effects. So yeah, this card is incredibly impactful, can really help us take over the game if it stays in play, and that's why it's the Golden Pig. Next up, though, we're also going to be utilizing, well, what is kind of like a combination of the 2 cards when it comes to Finest Hour. In a way, let's just say Homicidal Seclusion and Relentless Assault. Homicidal Seclusion says as long as you control exactly 1 creature, that creature gets +3/+1 and has lifelink. So as long as we just have good old Cromat in play, well, now it's going to be an 8/6, and it's got lifelink just for being in play. And of course, Relentless Assault is basically just an extra combat spell. We untap Cromat, we swing again, and everyone has fun. Okay, well, we have fun. And speaking of fun, how about Infect? Because we're going to be running Tainted Strike. Tainted Strike says target creature gets +1/+0 and gains Infect until end of turn, and who doesn't love Surprise Infect? So yeah, essentially it doesn't matter what our opponent's life total is or how much commander damage they have. If we just hit them with Cromat once for 10 Infect damage, or poison damage, or whatever you want to call it, they are gone. And then 2 other cards that can absolutely come out of nowhere and help us take out an opponent are Unleash Fury and Choose Your Weapon. Each of them can double up Cromat's power until end of turn, and Choose Your Weapon also has another mode, Archery. It can deal 5 damage to our creature with flying if we want to do that. So yeah, with either of these and with Cromat essentially getting to 11 power, well, that is a 1-shot kill now. But with all these awesome pump effects, how do we actually get Cromat through? Now, giving Cromat flying is nice, but we also have something like Key to the City that can just make it unblockable. Key to the City has tap, discard a card up to 1 target creature can't be blocked this turn, and whenever it becomes untapped, you may pay 2 if you do draw a card. So this is kind of like a delayed rummaging effect that also lets us make our commander unblockable. So yeah, sign me up for that. Speaking of which, we're also going to be running Hot Soup, Prowler's Helm, and Vorak Battlehorns. Hot Soup says equipped creature can't be blocked, and whenever equipped creature is dealt damage, destroy it. And keep in mind we can regenerate our commander, so keep that mana up when you've got this in play. And then Prowler's Helm says equipped creature can't be blocked except by walls, and yeah, not many players out there run pretty much any walls, so you're going to be getting through on basically every player. And then Vorak Battlehorn says equipped creature has trample and can't be blocked by more than 1 creature, so even if our creature gets blocked, it can't get team blocked, and we can get a lot of damage through. But we also want to make sure that we're protecting our commander with things like Swiftfoot Boots, Mask of Avacyn, and Winged Boots. Swiftfoot Boots gives equipped creature Hexproof and Haste, Mask of Avacyn gives it +1/+2 and Hexproof, and Winged Boots gives equipped creature Flying and Ward 4. So each of these help in multiple ways. Protecting our commander, though, is the most important part. And we can also protect our commander with counter spells with things like Negate, Unwind, and Neutralize. Negate's going to counter target non-creature spell, Unwind does the exact same thing, but we untap up to 3 lands, and Neutralize can counter any spell, or we can cycle it for 2. But since we're talking about protecting our things, let's talk about dealing with our opponent's things with some target removal like D-Spark, Utter End, Oblation, Crush Contraband, and Mythos of Nethroi. Again, since we've got access to all 5 colors, we've got a ton of great options. So we can also utilize some pretty fantastic board wipes as well, like Divine Reckoning, Slash the Ranks, Doom Blast, Fade Away, and Aether Gale. These board wipes can essentially help get rid of, well, a lot of things while keeping our commander in play. Fade Away is an especially spicy one. It says for each creature that creature's controller pays 1 or sacrifices a permanent. So again, we're going to know that this is coming, and 1 mana is obviously not very much at all to save our commander, but our opponents might have a lot of creatures in play and not a lot of mana. So if they're tapped out, they're going to have to make a lot of tough decisions. Regardless though, how are we actually going to get to all these cards? And we actually have some equipment that can help us out with that, with things like Zephyr Boots, Mask of Memory, and Rogue's Gloves. Zephyr Boots can help our commander get through by giving it flying and also making it loot whenever we hit a player. And while looting isn't card advantage, it is card selection. Speaking of which, Mask of Memory has us draw 2 cards when we deal a combination to a player and we discard 1. So although we are discarding, we gain more than we lose. And then Rogue's Gloves doesn't have any discarding at all. It says whenever a creature deals combination to a player, you may draw a card. But we can also draw when things don't go exactly according to plan with something like Infiltration Lens. It says whenever a creature becomes blocked by a creature, you may draw 2 cards. So this can actually be a block deterrent in a way as well, and actually if someone does choose to block, well, we get an upside from it. And actually, if Cromat does happen to die, Mask of Grizzlebrand can help us out as well. It says equipped creature has flying and lifelink, which are both lovely, and then whenever a creature dies, you may pay X life for X as its power. If you do, draw X cards. So Cromat can help us gain life with this equipment and help it get through, and then we can utilize that life that we gain to draw a lot of cards if Cromat dies. Next up, we also have a fantastic tutor in this deck with Open the Armory, which can help us search our library for an aura or equipment card, reveal it, put it in our hand, then shuffle our library. Again, we've got a lot of great equipment in this deck, and we can pick the right one for the situation that we're in. But we also have some other ways to draw cards with cards like Epiphany of the Drownyard, Fact or Fiction, Rain of Revelation, Painful Truths, Hunter's Insight, and Return of the Wildspeaker. And now that we're going through some lists of cards, let's now talk about the ramp for this deck with Cultivate, Explore, Rampant Growth, Road from the Ashes, Fauna Fertility, Springbloom Druid, Edge of Autumn, Search for Our Hero, and Roiling Regrowth. That was a mouthful. But now that we've gone through every single non-land card in this deck, let's talk about the price of this deck. And just as I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, every single card in this deck outside of the commander is less than $1. So the estimated cost for this deck is just $31.52. Keep in mind that that cost actually includes the cost of basic lands as well, so if you already have those, there's some extra savings there. And speaking of extra savings, you might even save even more if you buy this deck on TCG Player and utilize heavily played and damaged cards, because again, those cards need a home too. Though do keep in mind that the estimated cost of this deck does not include shipping, which might vary depending upon where you live. And with that, this show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.